Hey, and welcome back to the video. Okay, if you are thinking about a move or even just daydreaming about your next home, this video right here is going to give you the valuable information you need to make that a reality. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to break down the 5 critical steps in the home buying process and then get into what's important to focus on at each step of the process. Too often in my career, I've seen that home buyers rush into this process and they don't really have a clear plan or they haven't experienced it before. And so this can create a lot of unnecessary stress, surprises, and unfortunately disappointment. There's nothing worse than missing out or having a big roller coaster of emotions when it is the home buying process. So if you understand the big picture, you can avoid all that and have a successful transaction. And that's what this video is going to lay out for you. My name is Jeff Thibodeau. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate you watching these videos. I'm your go-to real estate expert right here in my hometown of Brantford, Ontario. This channel is all about empowering you to make smart real estate decisions. So I'm constantly making videos for home buyers, home sellers, homeowners, investors, and if you just want to know what's going on in the real estate market. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button if that's the type of thing you're into. And I'm making new videos every week, so you'll see them popping up on your homepage. Hey, while we're here, drop me a comment, say hello. Let me know what you're thinking about. Are you thinking about making a move? Did you come watch this video because you're in the home buying process? Let me know in the comments. I read them all and I will get back to you. So let's get into the video and the 5 key steps in the home buying process. In the big picture, home buying is complicated. It's a complicated, expensive, potentially risky process. Once you own this home, it's yours, right? And you're going to have to deal with it. Well, I've been helping people do this for over 15 years right here in my hometown of Brantford, Ontario. I've managed sales teams. I've even launched and grown my own brokerage that did over $1 billion of transactions. So I've got a lot of experience doing this and doing my own transactions, and I want to bring that experience to you. The key to winning in any market, whether it's up or down, buyer's market, seller's market, is having a plan, right? Understanding the process from a high level and knowing, okay, this is what's going to happen next. This is what we need to be doing right now. And a lot of people don't do that. They're like always a step behind. So that's what I want for you. If we look at it from a high level, we got 5 big steps. It's research, shopping, offers, conditions, and then closing. And so I'm going to go into each of those 5 steps today and show you just on the surface the most important things to look at. We don't want to be here for 2 hours. We're going to try to keep this video as concise as possible. Now I will say before we get into all those steps that everybody's situation is unique. That's what makes this a little more challenging. Your situation is unique. The property we're going to be buying is unique. Everything is going to be specific to that exact transaction. So the best thing that we can do if you're thinking of moving is have a one-on-one personalized strategy call. These are always free. I love chatting with people. So if you're thinking about a move anytime in the future, I don't care if it's like tomorrow you want to get out shopping or you're thinking 2 years from now. The best thing we can do is just have a conversation and figure out what's going on for you so we can put a plan together for your unique situation. And I would love to help you with that. So drop a comment or send me a DM. My contact information is all below and we can get started. Okay, let's talk about the first phase. The first phase is one that a lot of us are in for a long time. It's the research phase. I typically find that people are sometimes in this phase for 1 to 2 years even. Some of us might be in it forever. I know that I'm always browsing the MLS. I know a lot of people are always talking about what that next house might be like. And so being in the research phase is just fine. And when you're in the research phase, what we want to do is have the right information. So if you are in the research phase, just looking around, dreaming, that's all good. But if it's getting closer to I actually want to do a move, this is where we start to prepare ourselves. And there's 2 big areas that you can prepare yourself in the research phase. Area number 1 is around your finances and your money and your ability to qualify for a mortgage. And area number 2 is actually the types and styles and features and amenities and neighborhoods that you would want to move into. And getting those 2 things figured out in the research phase really lets us move on to the next phase. I'm curious, are you always looking for your next home? I'm kind of always dreaming what that next home might be or, what that future retirement home might be. How do you do that? Do you look on realtor.ca? Do you just browse, open houses? I'm curious. Leave me a comment. Are you in the research phase right now? So if we get back to preparing ourselves in the research phase, getting a handle on your finances is probably the most important one. Real estate's expensive. right? And if it's your first time purchase or you're doing a move up purchase, either way, you're going to need to know what that financial impact is going to be on you. So we're going to have the costs of actually doing the transaction, potentially your down payment, your closing costs, lawyer's fees, new furniture, moving trucks, and then we're going to also have a potential new mortgage payment. And we're going to have to figure out what we qualify for, what interest rate we qualify for, what that's going to mean in a monthly payment, and how that ultimately translates to the amount of home we're going to be able to buy. All that's really confusing information to do on your own. So the best step is to speak with an experienced professional mortgage broker. It's kind of a pain, right? You're going to have to give them a lot of documents. You're probably going to have to pull up your T4s and your taxes and all this kind of stuff. And it's not a fun part of the process. But when you get it done, you have this clarity. You know exactly, oh, I know I can go shop for this amount of house, and that's got me my borders. And I know if I buy that house, this is what it's going to cost me every month. And so knowing that really gives you the power to move forward. Buyers that do this in reverse, that go out and shop and then try to clean up their finances, almost always lose, because you're going to get some surprises. It's not going to move fast enough. You're not going to be able to clear your conditions quick enough. So we really want to do this part early in the process. I kind of recommend to my clients a two-phase approach. Number one, if you have a great banking relationship already at a branch, you keep all your money there, you have a long-term relationship, either your personal banker or they will have a mobile mortgage specialist at that branch, you should be able to qualify for a pretty good rate, and they will have a lot of your information there. And then the second option is to speak with an independent mortgage broker. And now an independent mortgage broker is someone who represents all lenders and can take you, just like a real estate agent would take your specific situation, and then they're going to be able to package it all up and match you with a specific lender. So whether you choose to go and speak with a mortgage broker at your bank or an independent mortgage broker, this is the key first step. And remember that knowing this will give you all the information you need to really put a strategic plan together. If you need a recommendation for an A+ mortgage broker, just send me a DM. I've got a great Rolodex of contacts, and I can match you up with someone that's going to fit exactly what you need. So now that we know and understand kind of our purchasing power and our budget, the next thing to understand is what type of house do we really like? There's all different styles, there's different neighborhoods. We have to think about, if you've got kids, you got school districts, you've got parks, you got distance to commuting if you work out of town or want to be near shopping centers or the highway. So we got to start matching up the actual type of home you want with that budget. And when we get those two things together, that really gets a good grip on our research phase, and we're ready. Now that we've got that together, we're ready to go shopping. In the research phase, I always say too, it's perfectly okay to go check out open houses, browse the internet. But what we can do for you during the research phase, and what I do for all of my clients, is set you up on an automated search account that's a direct connection to the local MLS system. Now, this is the same system that I log into every day, and so do all the other realtors. And so you're getting the best, most real-time information, and we can plug in those parameters around your budget, around your neighborhood, and you can get instant alerts and keep an eye on what's being listed and also what's being sold. This is a really great part of the research phase, and we can have this account set up and running for years if you want. And then when you're ready, you're the most educated, you know exactly what's going on in that little window of homes that you want to buy and that you can afford. So send me a DM or drop me a comment if you'd like an account like that set up. I can hook you up, no problem. Side note here, if you do have a home to sell, this is the part of the phase 2 where you want to do some research. We're going to do a whole nother video on that, but this is the time where you'd want to have me out to your house to come and look at it and give you a plan to get it ready to go on the market. Because if we're going to have to do 2 transactions, a buy and a sell, there's going to be even more moving parts. And you want to have your home ready to be marketed at the best level possible so you can maximize your exit price and take that money over into your new house or put some of it in your pocket. So we're going to have a whole nother video. Stay tuned for that one on prepping your home for sale. But this would be the phase in the research phase to be getting information on that too. Okay, let's move to the shopping phase. This is where things start to get fun, right? Because we get to go out and look at houses. When we move from the research phase to the shopping phase, we want to start going on private viewings, right? That means with the realtor you're working with, I will book the showing for you. It'll just be me and you and whoever's involved in your transaction. We go and see the house together. It's not like a big public open house, right? The reason we do this is because we want to move quickly. A lot of times open houses could be on the second, third weekend. We could be waiting around, but we want to go and look at the home on our own time, privately, have the home to ourselves, right? So I like to do this in 2 phases, because when we start the move process, there's going to be a whole bunch of homes that are actively for sale. We'll call this the active inventory. So what we'll do is sit down and go through all of them, and maybe we come up with a list of a handful of them, maybe 5, 10 houses that match out of everything that's available. We want to go see those all at the same time over a couple day period, maybe over a weekend. Then we know we've seen everything that's currently available. You don't kind of wonder what if. I can tell you how many times I'm working with a buyer and we walk into an amazing home. They're like, wow, this is the one, but we haven't seen the other ones. Like they get cold feet to make an offer because they're wondering what else is out there. So what we do is we go see everything right off the bat. We'll call this a discovery day or like a mass tour day. And great, if we find the one on that day, boom, we're moving. We're gonna go into the offer phase. We'll skip ahead. If we don't, now we can be on those alerts and we're watching for the new listings. And when those new listings come up, we want to jump and go see them right away. Like the same day they came up, maybe the next day, definitely the first weekend, because the new listings get a lot of attention. So two-phase approach, we're going to go see all the listings right away. And then right after that, if we haven't found one in the active inventory, now we're waiting and watching for the new listings to come on the market. There's also some unique things we can do here too if you're looking for a unique home or a specific neighborhood, is we can actually go into that neighborhood and talk directly to the owners of those homes and see if anyone's thinking about moving. We can run ads in those neighborhoods, we can send flyers to those homes, and we can try to find a property that isn't even up for sale yet that potentially you can buy. So lots of cool things we can do in this shopping phase. So at some point during the shopping phase, we're going to find the one, right? But a little tip on finding the one is I always recommend for my clients, we make a list and we make 2 columns. We have a need to have column and we have a want to have column. And the difference is, you know, we need the home to tick all these need boxes. It's got to be a certain budget, certain location, certain style. Maybe you need a garage, maybe you need a fence, whatever, right? But then there could be things in the want to have column. And these things are kind of, we're willing to compromise. And the reason we do this is because in all my time doing this, you know, it's really hard to find the exact perfect home. Homes are all unique, your situation's all unique. So we got to have some things that we're willing to compromise on, or we're willing to, you know, buy the home the way it is and potentially put in our own improvements. And that's going to make the whole process easier and be able to find the matching home better to you. And that also depends on, you know, again, your level of urgency. If you really need to make a transaction happen, you might be more willing to compromise. If you're a little more patient and willing to wait for the perfect house, then you know you might have more things on your need list. The main thing here is that being clear on those, especially if you've got more than one person. And this is where I see some challenges pop up if you are a couple or you've got some other influences. Maybe your parents are helping you out with buying the home. You want to be clear on this need and want list together, so you know it ahead of time and you're not arguing about it in the middle of deciding whether to make an offer or humming and hawing, like I like this one, but you don't like that one, right? And that's something I can help talk you through. And I'm curious, as you're watching this video, is there anything that specifically would be on your need list, right? Maybe leave me a comment, let me know. I always find it really interesting, everyone's unique needs. So think about what's on your need list versus what might be on your want list, and let me know in the comments below. And I'll give it a read and see if I can send you a matching property. So before we move on, just a reminder that, you know, it is key to have your own representative while doing this. A lot of people will be out there just popping into open houses or calling the agent on the sign. And just a reminder, that person represents the seller and they're doing everything in the best interest of the seller. By hiring a professional agent to work on your side, our fee is covered through the seller already. It's already posted on the MLS, it already exists, right? So our fee is already taken care of, and you can have this professional representation on your side, someone looking out for your needs and goals, working hand in hand with you. And that service, you know, it's basically at no cost to you. It's being paid by the seller one way or another, whether it's to their agent or their agent's compensating the other person. And even the early conversations we have, you know, a simple conversation with me has no cost to it. So getting on the phone and talking through your situation, making a plan, all that's no obligation. You know, it's always private. So reach out to me if you are thinking about starting this process and we can lay out this plan for you and get you moving. Okay, so we found the one. Now we got to move to the offer phase. I always say that real estate's kind of like baseball. Like you're sitting around doing nothing. You're like sitting out in right field, like kicking the dirt, and then crack, the bat hits. That's offer phase, right? That bat hits and all of a sudden the entire team has to run fast. And so it's really important to be prepared for offer phase, because when you decide to write an offer, this whole process just starts speeding up really quick, and you don't want to feel like you're overwhelmed by it or you're caught in the whirlwind. So when you decide you found the one, I always recommend we want to offer right away. We don't want to kind of sleep on it for a week. Obviously you want to take as much time as you need to decide it's the one, but once you've decided it's the one, we need to write that offer now. And the reason is, most times if you've found a house that works for you, other people are going to like that house too. And by waiting on it or taking our time, we could find ourselves losing out. Somebody else could sweep it and buy it, or we find ourselves in competition with another buyer. So we want to make decisions quickly and concisely. And if this is the one, then we want to move over to the offer phase. First step of the offer phase is for me to do some even more research for you. So if we know we want to write the offer, I'm going to reach out directly to the seller's agent and get as much information as I can about their situation. Because again, we're going to have a negotiation happening here. We want to know what areas are, things like move dates, potentially their motivation for selling, is there been any other interest? We'll dig up all this information so that we can write the cleanest, best offer possible. Now we're going to have different strategies, right? Depending on, is the home been on the market for a while and we're coming in with a kind of a heavy-handed negotiation, or we find ourselves in competition with another buyer. And so all of this is going to come into play, and we got to make an intelligent offer and sit down together. The key thing is that we're ready to talk about this. And the cool thing in now, today's day and age, is a lot of this can be done electronically. So we can be on the phone, we can be on a video call, going over all this in real time, and we can be submitting this offer very quickly. Electronic signatures and getting it all in. And we want to write a nice, strong opening offer, but then again, we're going to probably have some sort of negotiation. And a negotiation is a back and forth between the buyer and seller. So when you write them an offer, they're going to be able to either take it and move forward, or they're going to cross some things out, change them. And the key here is that we have an open communication. I find a lot of realtors nowadays are just emailing offers in silence. I like to talk a lot. I want to get on the phone with the other agent. I want to communicate. We want to work things through verbally and then get them down on paper so that we're all clear and everyone's doing a good faith negotiation. There's kind of two different types of offers. You might hear about a cash offer or whatever, but really what they're talking about is an unconditional offer. So if we write an unconditional offer, it means there's no way for either party to back out of the offer. If that gets accepted, we're sold, right? And we're going to move to the closing phase. More often than not, though, you're going to want some type of condition in the offer. That could be home inspection, financing, maybe you need to sell your home, a handful of other things. And so if we negotiate those conditions in there, then we get an accepted offer, we move to the next phase. And the next phase is the condition phase. Now this phase moves really quick because most sellers are not going to want you to have your conditions be for like 3 or 4 weeks. They want to know within a handful of days whether you're going to fulfill this offer or they got to get on to sell it with somebody else. So in the negotiations, we're going to lay out how long the conditional period is, but know that most sellers are going to want you to have that as short as possible. If you start asking for 2, 3, 4 week conditions, they're probably going to say no. Typical conditions: approval of your financing, home inspection of the property, insurance of the property. If it's country property, you might have to get a water test or a septic inspection. All of these we're going to have to try to get done in like 1 business week, 5 to 7 days if we're reasonable. So this is why it's really important to be prepared, so that we know that, bam, as soon as we get that offer accepted, we're going to have to get that deal into your mortgage broker. We're going to have to get that home inspector booked. And there's going to be a lot of moving parts happening in a very short amount of time. So it's key to have a plan and be ready for this phase, or else you can get caught up. Nobody wants to go back to the seller and say, hey, we haven't been moving fast enough. Can we have some more time? Now, the seller is not going to be too agreeable to that. So you may have a longer condition. One of them that's typically out there is called the sale of property condition. So if you have a house to sell and you want to make that a condition of your offer, we may ask for a month or even 2 months to do that, depending on the market. And just know that if you're going to ask for a longer condition, the seller is going to ask back for the right. They're going to reserve the right to keep selling the house to someone else. And so you're in this phase where you got to get your side of the conditions done, or they might have another buyer who has less conditions that wants to buy the house, and they have the ability to bump you off. And I can explain how all that works in another video. But the key here is to know that we got to move fast and we got to be prepared. So if we do this all right, the conditions get cleared up, you get that approval. And now reminder here about conditions. Conditions are here to protect you. They're not necessary. They're not required by law. They're here to protect you. They're here to give you a way to back out of the deal legally, right, and get your deposit back if we're unable to fulfill the conditions. So for example, if you put in a condition of financing, we take this whole deal over to the bank looks at the house and says, we're not willing to lend any money on this because we think it's overvalued or we don't like it for some reason. Then you go back to the sellers and you say, we were unable to fulfill our condition of financing, we're walking away from the deal. And everybody steps away. And so that's really important. You know, there's another condition like the home inspection condition. Again, when people get confused about it, they think, you know, the seller has to provide a certain home to us, but all homes are sold as is, right? And it's what we write in the offer that matters. So we might say that things need to be in good working order. We might do our home inspection and look for potential problems with the house that we didn't notice before. But ultimately the home is what it is. So when you get your home inspection report back, you're gonna have to decide, do I accept the home and any little faults they found? Do I walk away from this property? Or potentially based on the things they found, do I go back to the seller and say, hey, there was a few things here we're not comfortable with. I'd like you to fix them, or I'd like to change my offer price. And then the negotiation would be opened again. So again, this is all happening very fast. So you need someone on your team who can step through this all with you and make the right decisions as stuff's coming at you in real time. So this can be a pretty complicated process, but it's my favorite part. The negotiations and condition phase is my favorite part because it's where we're providing a lot of expertise and a lot of experience into the process. Okay, moving forward, if we clear out of all of our conditions, now, even if we had a conditional deal, now we have an unconditional deal because we've ticked off all our conditions, we've taken them out of the offer, and we say we're good, we're buying the home. And now we've got a phase from that date until your closing date. Your closing date is the moving day, right? And this phase, things kind of change because now the deal is done, the shopping's done, and we got to plan for your move, right? The most important part of this phase is to get connected with your legal team. Here in Ontario, you do need a lawyer to close your deal for you. They're the ones that are going to do all the official documents, register your name on the land registry office and all that. So we can recommend a legal team for you, and you're going to have to meet with them and plan that process. We're also going to save you some extra visits, right? We want to be able to come back and do things like measure up the home, plan for your furniture. You want to set up your utilities, take over the property taxes, and really get it all figured out so that on move day, you're just moving in, right? Having a little welcome party to your home and not juggling all this stuff. And if you don't do this too often, it can seem very overwhelming, but if you've got someone on your team that helps people every month do this, we just provide you the checklist and we can assist you along the way. It's always recommended that we save one of our final visits to the property for right before closing because we want to go and see the home in the condition you're about to get it. And again, if there's any issue with the home, it's way easier to address it before the closing day than after, right? Once closing day comes and goes, you've taken possession of the home, the money's changed hands, and if you find any problems with the home at that point, you'd have to go back to your lawyers and potentially go to court. So we'd rather find things the day before closing than the day after. So we're going to save that final walkthrough. Big question that comes here is when will I get my keys, right? When can I move in? And I always recommend that you kind of plan your moving day for the day after closing. You may get your keys sometime in the afternoon, but there's no guarantee. The other people might be moving out. It might take till the very end of the day for the deal to get closed. It is literally closes at the time that the lawyers do all the documents. So there's no really predicting that. It depends how much workload everyone has, when the banks send in those mortgage checks and we pay off the old debts. There's a lot of moving parts that go on closing day. So always plan to have your move day. I recommend the move day at least one day after. Maybe you get your keys, you can go over, see the house, and plan for that next day. And on that note, don't plan closing day for a Friday, right? The reason is the legal offices and the land registry offices are not open on the weekends and holidays. So if there's any problem with your deal on a Friday, it would get pushed to the next business day. And so you could be sitting there with moving trucks and plans, and maybe you've moved out of your current house and then you're homeless for a weekend. So we always want to plan a little contingency just in case, right? So that's the big picture. I appreciate you sticking with me here for 25 minutes. We got to think about research, shopping, offers, conditions, and then closing. The most important part of all of this, as I've said already, is having an experienced professional that you trust to guide you through this whole process. And I'd love to be that person for you if you're thinking about a move here in Brantford, Brant County. All we got to do is have a quick chat about your situation, and then we can start planning this for you and have a unique custom strategy for your exact situation, what you want to buy, and everything that needs to go along with that. Leave me a comment, anything you'd like to see in a future video. I want to go deep into these topics and make sure you're educated, and I hope to see you over here on our channel. Hit that subscribe button, give me a like, and I appreciate you being here. We'll talk to you soon.